Hello.
Hello, heathens.
Hello. Well,
We are we are talking about summer celebration.
yeah, we're gonna be a little late, but it's good to have it out there for you guys so for future you can re-reference, you know, the episode and the holidays, because we'll probably only do the holidays once. Hello.
Yeah, there you are.
Oh no.
Found you. I found you.
Hopefully that's not a long lag in the episode. If so, I'll have to cut it out, which is fine. I'm really unstable right now. I don't
Really unstable.
I don't know why my internet is being a brat. But yeah, we're talking when this episode comes out, Litha will have already happened, but Lughnasadh will
Hmm.
come up soon after. And so, with sticking with us talking about the holidays throughout the year, we figured we'd just lump it all into one because both holidays are interesting, but they're not like, I don't know, you could go really into depth in the research on it, but I feel like the
Yeah,
basics are
that's
pretty
the thing.
easy.
I feel like I am not real big into celebrating. Like I either want to go all in or don't do them at all, right? Like, but for me to like do all of the holidays that the pagans like celebrate, we would have to quit our jobs and just put on parties.
Yeah. I mean, let's be
Because,
honest, there's only two holidays I really like celebrating, and it's Halloween and or Mabon. Or is that Salmon?
hmm,
Salmon. That's salmon, right? Yeah.
summon.
And then their Christmas or Yule.
Hmm.
Those are the only
I
two
think
I
it's Samhain.
Yeah, and the other holidays I only celebrate because your anniversary is on one and then your birthday's on the other.
But I definitely liked what's the one in there's I think the one in May. I think I really like that one because the veil's really thin.
Is that Beltane?
No, I think Beltane's earlier in the year.
See, guys, we're doing this research and like remembering all the pagan holidays is hard for me just
Hmm.
because I'm not big into holidays usually. Like Nicole said, I'm either all in or I'm out. And normally I'm out. May
Like
1st
I'll
is
do it.
Beltane.
Yeah, okay. Because like I'll go do it if somebody else is putting it on, maybe. Like we just went and did the summer solstice one.
Yeah. Yeah, like when somebody else is putting it on, I'm down to go and like celebrate it. But on my own, I don't really do much for them.
Mm-mm.
Because
It's
time is an
usually
illusion.
right. It's usually like, oh, I'll go get some sunflowers or like a piece of it, just so I am honoring it, but it's very like, I don't know. I like the planets more, and I attracted to more of the planet stuff. And
Yeah.
do you
Like
know what I
astrology.
mean? Yeah, than the cycles of the earth. Like I love the cycles of the earth, but they come so quickly in this day and age that like I just don't have time to prepare for it at the moment. I feel like when I'm older and we retire and stuff, like that would be more of like we would be the ones putting it on because I would have time to like prepare.
Yeah. Also, I think that when the career shift happens officially, like in the future for me and Nicole, it'll also be different where we can do some more stuff with the holidays. But right now, also being
Yeah,
in hair, it's hard to like with all the things that we have our hands dabbled in, it is hard to make time for holidays at the moment. I guess is
right.
the best way to say it.
Because you don't want to do it like I don't want to half-ass. I want to do it like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But that means like baking bread and harvesting wheat and having a garden and like you know, all of that stuff. And I feel like right now, like so much of my time and energy is put in towards like researching. Um, that and practicing and then work and then
Yeah.
family. And then, you know what I mean? Like that's really where the concentration lies is in those kind of realms. Where
Yeah.
I know like when it does shift, like we'll have more time for that stuff, which will be super cool.
Yeah, I agree. I agree
Because
a
then we
lot.
can do crafts.
Because we love doing crafts. Like really seriously, we love doing crafts.
I was like, ooh, I get to make a corn doll. That's cool.
Yeah. Nicole and I might be making our own drums in the near future.
Yep.
That's gonna be cool. Um, okay, so again we're talking Litha and Lughnasadh. And let's start with Litha since that was the one that just passed. That was it usually happens between June 19th and June 22nd. I think this year it was I want to say the 21st, maybe the 22nd, but I cannot truly remember. Um,
Um,
Letha's also known as midsummer, as well as it happens on the summer solstice, which Midsummer is one of my favorite freaking movies. If you haven't seen
Just
it,
so good. See that it's a horror movie, so be forewarned. But very good, very good. Just a
yeah, Chef's Kiss. Great movie.
great movie. I think it was the 20th.
The 20th? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Close enough. 4 days to guess, I guess two. Two that were wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong too, but I thought it was because I did an extra ritual that day, and that's the only reason I remember it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so this day too is known as the longest day of the year. It honors the longest day of the year. Um,
Hmm.
which is again the summer solstice. So I found some fun things about this that were like traditions that people did to celebrate.
Hmm.
And one of them was that villagers would build a big bonfire on Midsummer's Eve, and this was called setting the watch, quote unquote. And it's also known as the fire that would keep, like, they thought it would keep evil spirits out of their town. So,
Hmm.
like, what you would do is you would jump over a fire, and if you had like pant leg or something didn't catch on fire, it was yes said that you were guaranteed to have good luck for the next coming year. And this is when you'd like also see people dancing around fires and like they'd be jumping over it and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, of course they thought people were witches. Like you're dancing around a fire, jumping over the fire, hoping you don't catch on fire.
Hmm. There was a thing about being naked too, and I forget where the research today said, but women around the fire naked would offend this certain god because he was like didn't like nudity or whatever. So they
Wow.
would dance around naked to ward off this certain deity. I was like,
During
oh, that's where it yeah. It was
wow.
either around, yeah, I think it was midsummer. One
Wow.
of the myths or lores in Celtic tradition.
That's so cool. I found another oh, to finish like the fire thing, I also
Mhm.
read that after your Letha fire has been burned out and the ashes are gone cold, you can use them to make like protective amulets. So like they would put it in like clay, make their own talismans or amulets. And then in Wiccan, it's believed that midsummer ashes will protect you from misfortune. I was like,
Oh, that's
that's so
cool.
cool. I didn't even think about that.
Let's go burn some stuff.
I know. I'm like, does Rocky still have the ashes from our fires?
You might. You
Be cool
might.
to make our own like talismans.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be so cool.
Let's do it.
So, some other things I've found is that there's like a seasonal legend of the battle between the Oak King and the Holly King. Have you heard of that
Mm-hmm.
one?
Yeah.
You saw that? Yeah. So it's a Celtic based story, and basically these two fight for supremacy as the wheel of the year turns. So, like at winter solstice or Yule, the Oak King conquers the Holly King and then reigns until midsummer and or
Mm-hmm.
Letha. And then in Wiccan traditions, the Oak King and the Holly King are seen as dual aspects of the horned god.
Mm-hmm.
And so each of the twin aspects rule for half the year and then battle for the favor of the goddess. And then he retires to return his like nurse's wounds for the next 6 months until it's time for him to like reign again. And I was like, I have never heard of this.
Oh, that's
Also,
cool.
they were saying that the holly god is sometimes like portrayed and he looks like a woodsy version of Santa, which I
Well,
found really
that's,
funny.
isn't that the Green Man or
The Oak King is portrayed as
the
like a
Green?
fertility god and is
Mm-hmm.
occasionally appears as the Green Man.
Okay.
And I was like, I found though that like a woodsy version of Santa was actually kind of funny because I feel like that looks like old Christmas cards.
Uh-huh. Like the
Ev-
old ones?
yeah, like everything. I was like, well, I have to see what a woodsy Santa looks like. And then I was like, oh my God, that looks like the old Christmas cards you get back in the day. And like, like you would make stuff with your old Christmas cards, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We were a crafty family. We used to,
Craft it. We gotta craft it.
let's see what else. I only had two more things that I found that I thought were interesting. Like in parts of England, it's believed that if you stay up all night on Midsummer's Eve, sitting in the middle of a stone circle, you'll see the Fae. But it also came with a really strong warning of basically do your research so you can try to keep yourself safe, like tying a tether line and bringing, putting your jacket inside out so you'll confuse them and like all these different things that I was like, that is extremely interesting to me. And I kind of wanted to, I'm sad
We need to
Midsummer's
go
over
see
because that would be really cool.
because we need to go see the Fae.
I mean, I feel like I have seen them before, but like to actually do something where you could potentially see them. So cool.
Mm-hmm. They say that about the holy stones too, the hag stones, that you're supposed to be able to look through them and see them.
Oh, that's so cool. And
I
hagstones,
haven't.
how are those created again?
Hagstones are like water stones that have been eroded away by water that they create a natural stone into it. That's what this is. So this has a natural hole in it,
Yeah,
and so I wear it for protection.
that's so cool. Um, well, yeah, that's kind of all I had. Of course, there are other gods and goddesses you can celebrate during the time. Like Apollo's one of them, god of the sun. Hestia, she's
Hmm.
also one that's celebrated at that time. Horus, because he's one of the solar deities. He literally rises and sets every day. During midsummer, you can also celebrate Lugh, which is usually with Lughnasadh, but he's considered like, part of midsummer because of his role with being a harvest goddess or harvest
Hmm.
god. Words are really hard today, you guys, like really hard. And then the only other one I put on there too was Suna or Sol, who's the Norse goddess of the sun.
Hmm. Yeah, because you could do Apollo. It depends on what pantheon you really want to do. Because you could even do Jesus in this point because he is the sun.
Yep.
Um, stuff that there was something about the god Lu who was basically a human but turned into a deity later after he died. His role, so if I'm understanding this correctly, there's one god that helps the harvest grow into fruition or to ripeness. And then Lou is supposed to like snatch those fruits and vegetables before that goddess takes them back into, or God takes them back into the underworld.
Hmm.
So in August, when it gets super dry, they talk about like the harsh eye drying out these fruits and vegetables. So if you let them go too far, so that's why you had the Lou guy come in and like try to get all of them before he withered them away and took them back
Yeah.
to the underworld. Yeah.
Well, and that's why they call Lugnasta. It's actually broken down. It like so Lugnasta is an ancient Gaelic harvest festival, right? And the word is comprised of the god's name Lugh and the old Gaelic word for assembly, which is Nasta. So it's literally like his assembly.
Okay.
So you're like coming in to celebrate him, in like the harvest. I love when words are broken down. It makes me feel so happy. I'm like, I know what it means.
Yeah, like now I know what I'm saying. There's a lot of indigenous people that really worship the sun at this point in time. And, because you figure back in the day, like this was everything. Food was everything, right? Like it wasn't abundant. You had to prepare. And that's why we had so many. There's three harvest uh holidays.
Holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. So you harvest at particular times, harvesting, and then you would start working on canning and stocking your pantry at this time as well.
Yeah, during Lughnasadh, not during midsummer, by the way, just to make
Hmm.
it so you guys aren't like, oh well, Nicole said during midsummer.
Um, there was a Vesta Roman goddess, sacred to women. Her celebration honor was Vestivala, and she was representing family. What was it? Family. Because the Celtic god Anne was love, summer, and fertility. The other one was family, home, and hearth. That's what was Vista.
And that's for Lughnasadh,
This is for Litha.
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 Oh, she's celebrated during Litha?
Hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Ra, the sun god. You could do him. Um, the bringer of light, the patron of the pharaohs. According to legend, the sun travels the sky as Ra drives the chariot through the heavens. This is a really good thing too, because we are in the magical community. I feel like we do spend a lot of time worshiping the moon, and damn right. But this is a really good time to honor the sun and remember that he's there and he projects all of life energy that we have. Even that's what makes the moon glow, kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
so even making like sun water is really good.
Sun tea even would probably be great
Oh,
too.
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I think yeah, so it's a fun little holiday. Spending time at the lake would be amazing at this time. Also, getting these bright colors on your altars like gold, yellow, orange, offering up some um lemons would be great, lemonade. Um, any stones to do with the sun too. This would be a great time to charge stuff like that. That is associated with the sun,
Hmm.
especially the longest day, which is a really good one. It's just a really good day to harvest some really good energy.
Yeah, it's also good to like connect with your land at that point.
Hmm.
If you have land or even if you're in an apartment building, get outside and walk around and like you can connect with like the beings around you.
Absolutely. There's a lot of abundant spells are really good with this too.
Yeah, true that. They're
Because
like,
we're Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like both holidays, when I was doing my research, they're pretty similar in some way, where it's like that's a big theme for Lugnasa as well, is like abundance and being thankful for your
Hmm.
abundance and celebrating your abundance.
Hmm.
And I was like, I feel like they're both kind of very similar, you know?
I felt that way too. With like, granted, with Lunasis, like you actually start to cut things down and start to, prepare them for the long winter. It's the first part of that.
Yeah.
Um, where like midsummer is we are honoring the fact of the growth that we got from putting the seeds in the earth in spring.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I got on that.
Yeah, well, for Lugnasa, it's celebrated usually on August 1st in the northern hemisphere, but then for the southern hemisphere, meaning those that live south of the equator, it's celebrated on February 1st. And it's this, like Nicole said, it's the first harvest of the year, and you're celebrating the abundance of the harvest. And so I think we should talk about Lugh, the actual god that it's all based around, really. And he is a
Hmm.
Celtic god of the sun and harvest, and his name literally means bright and shining one. Um, so like you had already talked about his story, correct?
Yeah, somewhat.
I
Just
was
go, I say, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't really have his story on there because it was
Oh, I see.
honestly, I thought it was such a long story that I was having a hard time breaking it down while also doing research for two holidays that I was like, I am not putting that in there because I was having a hard time breaking it down. I was like, we're gonna be here forever.
So basically, let's see here. I was trying to get my computer to move over, but I'm not. I just need you. Oh, there we go. Never mind, I got it. I know how to do things.
Yeah, she does.
Excuse me one moment while I go through it. This is Wikipedia. I thought it was in here. So part of it, the Irish mythology on it, the festival begins, the god Lugh. This is a funeral feast and athletic competitions. So the funeral was because of his foster mother. She put so much time and effort into the land and the earth to uh, nurture these crops. And she put so much time and effort in it that she had basically died from exhaustion. And this also represents it can represent the dying of the vegetation as well at this time. So the funeral games were interesting because I was like, what games? This predates the what is the games that the Olympian games? This is like predates or is part of, or they've been combined some way.
I do not know.
Because there were sports like horse racing, musical, storytelling, tradition, proclaiming, setting. You could also set legal disputes and draw up contrasts. This was also a time for matchmaking. The second time, because the first time is like in spring, and they would do a marriage by trial. So you would stay with this person. Well, I don't really know the details on what you would do, what this actually means, but you would do a trial marriage for a day and a year. And then after that, if you wanted to make it permanent, you would make it permanent. If not, you would break it without any consequences.
That's kind of
Um,
cool.
right? I thought that was really cool. I'm like, we need to do that. They're like, wow,
Seriously.
that was fun, but or yeah, let's do that. Um, cutting of corn. I don't know. Let's okay. So according to McNell, the main theme emerges the folklore of rituals of Lu Nagna. How do you say that?
Look, NASA.
Lughnasadh is a struggle harvest between two gods. One god is usually called Cromdom, and please forgive me. Uh, both the gods. Sorry.
Hmm.
Guards the grain as his treasure. The other god, Lu, would must seize it for mankind. So sometimes this was portrayed as a struggle over a woman, and her name was Elif. Lethan, who represented the grain. La would also fight and defeat a figure representing blight, which blight was something that happened at this time uh, because it was so humid and so hot. And I think it's a fungus.
Mm.
Um, I think they say that blight is one of those things that might have called the witch trials in Salem, but we'd have to double check that. McNeil says that the themes can also be earlier Irish mythology, particularly the tales of Lugh defeating Balor, which seems to represent the overcoming of blight, drought, and the scorching of the summer sun. In survival folklore, Lugh has usually represented by Saint Patrick's, while Comdom is the pagan chief who is a granny or bull who opposes Saint Patrick, which we have not.
Ergot.
Yes.
Ergot is what they believe caused the Salem trials, just so you know. It is also a fungus, but it's like a hallucinogenic fungus.
Okay.
Not blight, but ergot. I had to look it up
Okay.
really quick
Okay.
because I was like, wait, I'm so curious. I have to know what it is.
I knew there was some sort of like fungus that might have like happened in there. Like, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
cool. That's awesome. Because I was like, I don't know. Um, where- okay, so eventually it went to where like Lou was St. Patrick and the other guy was the bull, and there's a whole fight between that. I lightly know of that myth, but we'd have to revisit that one before we did research on St. Patrick's and stuff like that. Um, this also was could have been associated with like Hades stealing Persephone at this time as well. So if she was perceived as the goddess of the harvest at this time, she would be kidnapped and taken into the other world because then we went into winter when Demeter was looking for her and froze the world because of her sorrow.
Yeah.
Um, There were some other things about how they would, and it's interesting to me, they would have these myths and these stories about how to help people um, in future generations because they talked about one of the kings they would bury up to his head and smother um, cow dung over his head, almost to say that, like, when you put the seed in, to put the manure over it so it'd be fertilized and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of like they make all these stories on like, oh, like
Dude,
that's how
and
you
if
do
that's
that.
real, we wonder why fucking people were so sick back in the day. Come on, man. What?
That's how no, that's how you make crops grow.
Yeah, but you're a human, not a crop. Putting feces on your fucking face and in your nose and in your mouth and everything isn't
No, it
exactly gonna
was
do.
just a story.
Oh, I know it's a story, but I'm saying if they really did that,
Right,
is what I
right.
said, then like
Oh yeah.
we wonder why they were so sick. Like if you're really doing that, oh,
Hmm.
poor people.
This was also a great time to visit holy wells, which I was very intrigued about. I was like, there are holy wells? I need to go.
Hmm.
And then you would pray to these wells and walk sunwise or clockwise and for abundance and good luck for the next coming year. You had to do a lot of this stuff to stay alive.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's basically all I got. So the thing is, I mean, midsummer. if we went and did like looked for the fays on Midsummer Day, they have been known to uh drag one or two humans into their world, like trick them and like I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
I was like, that's why they say like they'll give a warning if you're gonna do like anything with the Fae, you got to make sure you're smart about it or you know what you're getting into.
I know, but of course, like if they want to trick us, they could trick us. They're just good at that stuff. They don't like us though, really. Um, so this is a good time to make bonfires, solar water, also give thanks to the divine masculine. This is also a really good time to appreciate the abundance of life because I think sometimes we forget that. Um, look at like if you can go out to the country and look at the growth in the crops and the fields of, I don't know, in Michigan, we have fields of like wheat or corn growing all over the place. And I know that's not, for everybody. They don't have the same stuff, but um, really worship the sun is a really good idea at this point and enjoy that vitamins that we get from that life energy that we get from the sun. Um, Drinking sun water would be a really good idea at this time too. Letting go with the fires, it's really cool to do rituals of letting go what no longer serves you. So, one of the things that I looked up is that they would write down things on pieces of paper and roll them up and then put them one by one in the fire.
I'm
Just to
Letha.
let go of that. Hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Eating salmon on Litha is to gain wisdom.
Eating what?
Salmon,
Oh, did it say why?
no.
Interesting.
I mean, it probably did, but I didn't get that part.
Do love salmon.
I know. I was like, I have to go get some salmon. And then talking about the Roman goddess Juno, they would celebrate these goddesses, Juno and the Roman goddess Vesta. Um, which Juno was the wife of Jupiter. So this would actually be Hera. In Greek mythology, it would be Hera and Zeus.
Hmm.
But yeah, you could do some meditations on Ra, the sun god would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And research him and see where the sun, like how myth and lore with suns would be really cool to like look up and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Um, they talked about meditating on the sun card too in the tarot.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's a good idea.
Hmm. Yeah, that's all I got.
I still have some work for Luke now, so Um, so usually on the holiday, it was said that the people that celebrate it, you rise on dawn at dawn to start harvesting the first grains with the belief that it was infused with the sun god's potent energy and
Energy.
journey. Wow. Also I thought it was really cool that Lughnasadh always falls on the same day every year. It's not technically connected to the sun's movements like the solstice and the equinox festivals are. So it's always August 1st for us in the northern hemisphere and February 1st for those in the southern. Um, some like traditional symbols, of course, to honor Lughnasadh are going to be like, colors. We always talk about colors, like your shades of gold and yellow and orange, light brown, bronze.
Hmm.
Some crystals would be citrine, which is, abundance. Malachite
Hmm.
is like helps protect us and helps us accept the coming changes. Um, golden topaz for prosperity, amber for joy and prosperity, and then you're gonna like see a lot of grains. So like grains, bread, corn, oats, sunflowers are big during this time. Marigolds are big for this too. Um, I saw that they said herbs for Lugnasa would be mint and basil, but there was no explanation. And it was really late when I was cram session last night studying. So I did not
Mm-hmm.
look that up. So if you're interested in why I would suggest looking it up, because I don't know. I got nothing for you, homie. Um, and the only other things I want to add to this is like this is a great time to like celebrate, you know, with your friends and your family and eat a big feast around your in like your hearth in the middle of your kitchen to like celebrate, eat a lot of the food that you're harvesting. And like Nicole said earlier, it's a really great time to start your canning processes too. Especially during that day because like you can infuse it with, you know, the harvesting powers, the abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also saw that they were saying like hang out in nature during this time, have a picnic and enjoy the changes that you're going to start seeing and remember to like give offerings of course to like the area you're in, whether that be bread, beer, wine, super simple things.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing that I found, I was telling Nicole about this before we started. Um, it's traditional to climb a hill so that you can get close to the sun as possible. And then at the top of the hill, you give an offering to the sun god. And I was like, I have never heard anything like that. And now we have to go and climb a hill.
Now we have to climb a hill.
August 1st.
What offerings should we give to the sun god?
It's whatever you want to offer. And there's not specific
Oh, okay.
offerings. That's why I was saying like the big ones are gonna be grains and corn. So like bread, corn, things like that, food that's
Mm-hmm.
made like that. Especially there's certain kinds of breads that go with Lugnasta that you can make. They
Mm-hmm.
had a whole recipe on one of their websites that I was like researching on. There's a lot that you can do to celebrate the at that time because it is so much about abundance and prosperity and like recognizing that through the harvest of harvesting foods. So, my God, there's so much that you can give. I mean, most spirits do just fine with alcohol as well, but you know, if you want to make your own bread, man, that's the time to
Hey,
do it.
hell yeah. That would be an offering. You put a lot of energy in a bread.
Heck yeah. I'm like, I've been wanting to try to make my own bread one day. I'd like to make it from like scratch.
Mm-hmm.
One day when I get ambitious enough, I'd really like to figure out how to like how flour is actually made, how you would make your own flour, because I find that really interesting in my head. It doesn't make sense how it's made unless it's just ground down something, but I don't know. So I'm like, I would love to know how to make my own flour and then make my own bread. That'd be so cool. My mom used to make bread all the time when I was a kid, and fresh bread, there is nothing like it.
There's nothing better than fresh bread. Oh,
Oh, catch me making banana nut bread every week.
oh my God. That's awesome. I got some bananas for you.
Yeah, seriously. Like, hey, you got any bananas?
Yeah, we just hold them until they start going bad. So,
Hey, well, that can be used for banana nut bread, my favorite. So yeah, you guys, I think that's Lila, Letha, and Lugnasta. Fun
mhm.
holidays. It's nice out. Get outside. Well, for us in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, we're not really outside right now just because the air quality is so bad. But when you can get outside,
We got some fires. We're burning down Canada, okay? Burn it down.
Canada. No, no burn anymore. No world burning. We're done burning the world.
Hey, I didn't do it. It
Oh,
just
I know.
happened. It just happened.
Oh no, what'd you do?
It just happened.
Oh man.
Just kidding. I didn't do anything.
No, no. You wouldn't have had time to, unless
I
there's
didn't
a
even
hurricane
know.
coming for New Orleans. Nicole's not,
No,
she
that's
doesn't
the
have the
only,
time.
that's the last thing. Oh God, that's a story. And I was a
Yeah.
very new magician, if you will. There was a hurricane coming because, I'm magical and I can stop hurricanes.
So
That
so
was
she thought.
Uh, so my instructor was like, if anybody wants to do some magic on this hurricane's coming for New Orleans, it's the anniversary, I think, of Katrina, um, blah blah blah. And so I was like, well, and he gave us the rituals to do. So then I was like, oh, so I started doing rituals. And then I did one. And then I had the Weather Channel up like this. And I was like, how will I know if it worked? I was like, maybe it wasn't enough. So I put my phone down and I did more rituals. I did a bunch of rituals. And then I was like obsessed with like seeing the validation and all the like I was gonna like literally thought I was gonna stop the hurricane. Like it was gonna go, we don't know what happened. It just went away. I had big goals, big goals. Mhm.
Yes. She will move mountains one day.
Yeah.
Eat her words. She'll move
Hurricane.
mountains, stop hurricanes.
Stop hurricanes, it's fine. It's fine. That's what I'm doing.
That's
It's
so
just
funny.
so funny. It's so funny to think like back then when you're like new and not, you don't know the world, so you're making it up and you're like, fantasy. I can stop this hurricane.
And then, you took on all that energy and you had to like do a lot of recovering after too.
Oh yeah, I think that put me down. I think it blew out my meridians and it took me maybe a month to get back on the magic train, like where I was actually doing my worships and stuff like that. It took me out for a while.
Yeah, dude, that was wild. I remember that.
Hmm.
You were tired every day, and I was like, "Are you okay?" That's
Dead.
fine. I just tried to take on a hurricane
Dead. I was dead.
like 20 times in one day.
Fine, fine. That's me. Just blew them all away.
Well, all right, guys. So let's see. After this episode, we will be talking rules, quote unquote, rules, rules, because I know that with my speech impediment, that's very strong today. It sounds weird, but we will be talking rules in magic and spirituality and the control that's around the rules that they try to impose. So that's going to be a very interesting hot topic.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be like, are we gonna do it basically like when we break them, when you should break them, when you shouldn't break them?
We'll talk about that in the next episode because we still have to get very clear because that is not what we were talking about when we talk about it, but we'll talk to you guys about it. You guys will know right before we start and you know, figure everything out.
Mm-hmm.
But
All
yeah,
right, cool.
that'll be our next episode, main.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.
Bye, heathens.